Know-it-all, entitlement, and blame. They really bother me, so I want to talk about it so that you have thoughts when you encounter it, or if it's something that you struggle to manage in yourself, these might be some ideas you want to consider as you work on your self-improvement. My name is Hava Schultz, if we haven't met, and today this is just gonna be a quick, casual conversation about some mentalities that are worth really thinking about. First of all, the know-it-all perspective. This is where somebody approaches life feeling like they've already got it figured out. We can totally learn stuff and know a lot, but we don't ever know it all. The thing that I think is dangerous about the know-it-all mentality is that it leads to a life of judgments and assumptions. If you think you know it all, then you're most likely going to jump to assumptions because you already know. So you're jumping ahead of the game, and you may not hear people out. You may not really listen to them because you already know. I mean, hopefully it's not you. And I'm not saying this as in terms of knowing it all. In fact, I haven't studied the know-it-all perspective at all. I'm simply speaking from my experience having encountered it with other people. The other thing is the know-it-all perspective does also lead to judgments because you already know the way things are or the way things should be, and when you see something you disagree with, rather than acknowledging it as something that I don't necessarily know a lot about that, or maybe that's something that like just is different than me and I don't particularly care for, you jump to the judgment of like, that is wrong. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of things in life that are clearly right versus wrong, but the know-it-all perspective, I think, applies that judgment far more than it's actually due. So that's what I have to say about the know-it-all perspective. I want to move on to entitlement. This is something that I unfortunately have encountered quite a bit. I don't want to get too into it, but it's something that has become a major pet peeve of mine. And I think unfortunately a lot of people have entitlement, and they don't mean to hurt people. They don't mean to make people upset, but just inherently in this sense of entitlement, it's not always a mentality, sometimes it's just a sense and it's just kind of ingrained. It has a negative impact on others, feeling like you deserve special treatment. By the way, entitlement can come with money, but I'm not just talking about money here. And there are plenty of people who have an exorbitant amount of wealth and do not carry themselves with a sense of entitlement. While you can find it there in the financial sense, you can also find it in other places because it's a certain sense. It's a sense of being the exception. And plenty of people think that they are the exception in the world and the world revolves around them. I mean, I don't understand. I got on an airplane recently and they said we're gonna be boarding from the back of the plane to the front of the plane, starting with rows 20 through 24. I walked up because my seat was in the back of the plane, and then people with rows 16, 11, and 18 walked up, and the person working there had repeated himself multiple times at the gate, turned them away and said, I'm sorry, you're row 11, I'm sorry, you're row 16, I'm sorry, you're row 18. I'm not sure if those people have a lot of money in the bank, but for some reason, even though he explicitly said 3 times the way this was gonna roll, for some reason they thought that they might be let on if they walked up. So I don't know, that's kind of just an everyday kind of example. People think that they deserve something kind of for no reason except that they deserve it. I mean, there's really no logic there. Maybe they feel like they deserve something for free, or they deserve a discount or a certain treatment, or in consideration of other people's time, just because they're not thinking outside of themselves. Or maybe they're used to being serviced, and people who are used to being serviced may be more at risk of this and just not realizing. So I think the way you can combat a sense of entitlement is with gratitude, to be grateful and recognize what blessings you have, even if they've just always existed for you. Just recognizing what you have and being grateful will give you that sense of awareness rather than entitlement. So it's just kind of an idea. Again, this is not something I've studied. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just sort of thinking through situations I've been in, things I've witnessed, things I've personally experienced, and how you might be able to move forward if this is something you struggle with, or if it's something that you are the victim of, just recognizing it for what it is. You know, it can be really hard to be on the receiving end of it, but just recognizing it and then trying to move on. The third thing I want to talk about in terms of mentality is blame versus ownership. And I took this as the third one because this can often be a side effect of a sense of entitlement where you don't take ownership for anything, but this can happen outside of entitlement as well. Blame versus ownership. Basically, do you take ownership for things that happen to you? Or do you blame it on something else? It doesn't have to be a situation with another person. It can even be as simple as in college when, you know, professors would give a tough assignment and some people would say, oh my gosh, I got a 50 on it. Other people would say, the professor gave me a 50. You're essentially saying my grade on this assignment was a 50, but the difference in the way you're saying it is, are you taking ownership? I scored a 50? Or are you placing blame? The professor gave me a 50. And we see this and say stuff like this in everyday life on a very small scale, like, oh my gosh, my pen walked away. As just a funny way of saying that you don't know where your pen is, you lost it. But it's a subtle way of placing blame. And I'm not saying that you should stop saying things like that. I mean, that is a minute detail unless you really feel like that would be a step for you that you need to take to help you get in the habit of taking ownership. That's fine, but it's just kind of something to consider is, are things happening to you or are you making things happen? And blame versus ownership kind of ties into that sense of control of where you are in the world, and then recognizing that you aren't perfect, and sometimes the things that happen in your life that are not so great have something to do with your own actions. I'm not saying that they always do, but you know, I'm not talking in extremes with anything I've said today. I just want you to consider the know-it-all mentality, a sense of entitlement, and blame versus ownership, and then finding a way to deal with them in your life, whether it's on a personal level or just your interaction with it and other people. Someone having trouble with any of these things does not make them a bad person. It's just something that they need to work on. So if that happens to be you, I just want you to know that this is not meant to like be criticizing or anything. This is supposed to be a helpful video for anybody watching it. I hope that this has been a positive way of thinking about some negative mentalities to keep you going. That's all I gotta say, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and I'll see you next time. Bye.